Lord, we know you love dance music. We know you love the dance music industry. And so we just bless the dance music industry, and we thank you that we get to make this amazing music that is filled with massive kick drums and amazing synths and lights and lasers and sounds. Like, we love all of it. In Jesus' name we rave. Amen.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Headliner Mindset Podcast. We have a very special episode for y'all today. I'm here in Austin, Texas, alive and in the flesh with my good friend Topher, aka Rave Jesus.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Dude, I am so pumped we finally get to meet because we've known each other it's been about the last 6 months or so. We've been getting to know each other pretty well, but this is our first time getting to actually hug each other.
I know. It's so good to see you in the flesh.
Dude.
You're even more handsome in person.
Thank you. Thank you. You know what I did? I shaved.
You look good, bro.
I took the facial hair off. So
I did not.
got a few years back.
Yeah. You look good.
Thank you, man. Yeah. Well, man, so you're here because you have a show.
Tonight.
Touring.
Yep.
Your shows are not like normal rave EDM shows, though.
They are and they aren't. There's a little bit of a difference.
You're doing something a little bit different, bringing in worship music as a Christian artist, but still very much a real DJ and music producer. And I want to just start there. The show tonight, I'm so excited to come out. How is this going to be different from a normal club show?
Yeah, but one, it's early. Doors open at 6 and it ends at 9.
Yes.
And, I love that I can get to sleep by 11 o'clock and I played a show that night. It's incredible.
Yeah.
But it's different in the sense of the heart behind everything tonight is to point people to Jesus. And I've been going to raves for 25 years now. I love dance music. It's like it just ingrained into my DNA. And so there's so much that I love about just the whole show experience, the lights, the lasers, the huge sound systems. I love all of that. So that's all still there.
Yeah.
But it's just a way, I don't know if cleaner is the right word, but like no one's doing drugs.
Yeah.
Most people aren't drinking.
Yeah.
There's a lot of families that come. There's a huge age disparity of you could have a 3-year-old and have a 70-year-old at the show.
Yeah.
But it's such a joyful and light atmosphere. And so it isn't about being seen. There's none of like the games or the funny things of when you go out to shows, like getting in the booth, like none of that exists. Everyone's there for a specific reason, and it's to have an unbelievable time dancing and raving and worshiping.
Yeah.
And so it just naturally feels a little bit different in the room than, the 2 a.m. at whatever club.
Yeah. So as you guys can tell, this is going to be a really, potentially different kind of conversation than I've had with most of the artists and industry players on the Headliner Mindset podcast. I'm also just personally really excited to have this conversation as well and to kind of open up and share about my journey. I've shared a lot about what I call the woo-woo side. And I think that's what, like...
Whenever I've watched your episodes from like a year ago, and you're like, I love the woo-woo stuff.
I love the woo-woo.
Knowing you now, I'm like, oh, you were... Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and I think a lot of my, audience loves that as well. Because that's kind of what got me into coaching. And the part of music that I've loved is the creative side. And back when I worked at Icon Collective, I taught one of the courses there was the art of flow. And I always describe that class. It's a class that we had about exploring creativity, how to be creative, how to tap into your flow, how to listen to your intuition, listen to your authentic voice, which as an artist, it's so key. It's so important to do. And that's why I think so many of the artists that came out of Icon were very successful.
You guys had, I was talking to someone today, like the run of artists that you guys had come from that place is wild.
It's insane. And what we were doing is we were teaching them how to get tapped in, how to get plugged into the source of authentic creativity. And when I taught that class, I was the first one to take over. I always described it as an intersection between psychology, philosophy, and spirituality. Me personally, I really leaned on the spirituality side.
Yeah.
Of it. I had no problem talking. There's words that we use. We say maybe the universe.
Yeah.
We say source. Even just the word God makes some people a little uncomfortable. I've gotten a bit more comfortable using it, but I realized recently, I'm like, man, the whole reason I got into this shit was for the spiritual side
Yeah.
of it. You know, a lot of my coaching recently has become, you know, over the years, and especially with the podcast over the last 2 years, it's become very business heavy. Like, how do I build my Instagram following? How do I do this? And for me, my philosophy has always been like, if you're not tapped into your authentic source of creativity, then what are you making in the first place? Your marketing strategy doesn't matter. So I'm just excited to, you know, my spiritual journey has continued to progress, especially over these last 2 years. And it has, led me to getting baptized in, you know, early this year. And that's where we connected. That's how we connected. You saw me getting baptized, and we're like, "Oh, what's up?"
It's so funny because I love watching podcasts because I'm always just trying to learn from other artists or people in the industry, like what they're doing, what they're hearing, what they're seeing. And so I'm always listening. And you came up on my feed, and I don't remember which was the first artist you were interviewing that I watched, but I was like, oh, this is actually really cool. And then there were more and more clips, and I was like, I'm going to follow him. And then it was like a week later, you got back. I was like, yo, bro, what's up? This is so cool. We should connect. DMs. And so I just love the journey of that. But it's been cool to see you. Obviously, I didn't know you until 6 months ago but it's been cool to see just even the 6 months, like the growth that you've had as a person, and you just stepping into, you know, just what God has for you right now. And it's just been an honor to encourage you along the way so far.
Thank you, brother. I'm excited to share more of my story and journey. But before I do, I want to jump into yours. Because you had a pretty successful background already in the industry before you were doing Rave Jesus, right? So I'd love to hear a little bit about your experience before you started this project and what you were doing.
Yeah, so I'll try and do a short-ish summary of kind of the rundown, but I started DJing in '99 for Christmas, my birthday. I got my first pair of turntables, and then a couple years later fell in love with dance music. And just would DJ in my basement, and this is only vinyl records back then. And then a few years later, it was just the conversation of, if I ever want to do this seriously, I should produce music. And so I started learning how to produce, and in 2006, did a bootleg remix of Snow Patrol's Chasing Cars with this guy named Blake Jarrell, and it exploded. Like, DJs and their managers were arguing backstage at festivals, like who was going to play it type thing. And that opened the door to get connected to Armin and Tiesto and Ferry Corsten and Paul Van Dyk, all and Oakenfold, like they were like the premier guys back then. And then Tiesto signed a bunch of my records to his label back then, was called Black Hole. Did some shows he asked me to come do some shows with him. And then in 2010, moved to England, wrote a bunch of new music, signed to Ultra. Stuff started to build. 2012, put out a record called Brohammer. Skrillex picks it up. Kind of goes nuts. And then I'm touring all around the U.S. in 2013. Was signed to AM Only at the time. Matt Meyer, shout out. He's funny because he's now working on the Rave Jesus project 15 years later, which is so crazy. He's one of the agents on the team. It's not 15, it's like 13 years now.
Love
that. But it's funny how that happens. And then was touring, playing a bunch. Opened up for Morgan Page on his 3D tour that he did, which back then it was like a groundbreaking tour with the 3D glasses and the LED wall where stuff would pop out. And so opened up for him on one of the legs of that. And then started writing some housey music, because that was in the peak of like banging EDM, where it's like big builds, big drops. That's it. And I was like, I mean, there were some bangers from back then. And then I started writing some housey stuff and started this new project at the time that was called King Arthur. I'd uploaded a song to SoundCloud, and Don Diablo hears it, and this is when he was absolutely exploding. Was like the hottest thing. It's like the new, like, up and coming, like, superstar. And so he had just started his record label Hexagon. I was the first artist besides Don to release on the label. That song pops off. The next single pops off. Within a year, I'm at Tomorrowland. Within 2 years of the first ever single being out, I'm playing the main stage at Tomorrowland. I'm playing all over the world. And, it's like, it was a very quick ascension, because it was one of those right songs on the right label at the right time. And that sound was huge. And then I signed a deal with Republic in 2018. And that was such a learning experience, to say the least. Grateful for the opportunity, but it wasn't very fruitful. But learned a ton. And then after that, started my own record label underneath Hexagon. So connected back up with Don, started Bring the Kingdom Records, which was like the housey version of Hexagon, because that was like the more future house vibe for his stuff. But then it was like a proper house music for Bring the Kingdom, and then COVID hits, everything starts to change. I guess I forgot in 2018, I had felt I was a Christian. I've been a Christian the whole time.
Yeah.
But I never made Christian music. It was what I would call like kingdom music, where I'd write it from the place of my relationship with the Lord, but it was never branded as anything Christian.
Yeah.
But in 2018, I started a prayer call with two friends where every week we'd get on. I was like, we're going to just pray for the industry for an hour every week. How do we love the people? How do we bless this industry? How do we see God move? Because we know he cares about dance music. How can we serve and love this industry? And so, after a couple years, I had just called it the Rave Jesus call.
Yeah.
And it was just a prayer call for basically 5 years. In 2020, opened it up to the public in January. Well, then 2 months later, the whole world shuts down.
Yeah.
All these people from the industry are hopping on, and it's cool seeing people encounter God, get to know about him, encouraged in their faith, whatever it was just awesome and special. And then it was, hey, let's try a couple events.
Yeah. Yeah.
Branded like this.
And before we get there, how were you feeling when you were having success in the sort of mainstream industry? You were a Christian, but it wasn't really, it wasn't part of your brand at that point.
Yeah.
Were you still kind of excited about the scene and the trajectory and where things were going before COVID hit and kind of stopped it all? Or was there ever like kind of a wrestle?
I mean, there's always a wrestle until you get to like, I think there's always a wrestle no matter what. Even my friends that are, headlining festivals, they're always like wrestling with, what's next? Am I going to fall off? Whatever it is. I mean, there's this thing of artists where if you're always creating, you're always wanting to see new things happen. And so, I mean, it was incredible. I had a checklist of a few things that were like my dream city as an artist. And in 2017, all of them happened. 2017 and 2018, they all happened. And afterwards, the Lord was like, hey, that was a good list, huh?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And he was like, cool. Well, when you want to do some other things that I have for you, like, that's a bigger list, like, let me know.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, I get this. Like, I got to do the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And they were great. I mean, it's a dream. You dream playing. One, just playing Tomorrowland.
Yeah.
Getting to play in 2016, I headlined the smallest stage, like the up-and-comers.
Yeah.
And then in 2017, playing the main stage, like, geez, this is crazy. And so getting to do those things, it was incredible. But the whole thing with that whole era was like, it was successful, and I'm playing shows around the world and having, hundreds of millions of streams, like, but it never felt like it went to the place of like, this is going to last a really long time. Yeah,
you're kind of just like keeping your head above water. And
I mean, it was better than the keeping above water, because like it was like there was real movement.
Yeah.
And real things are happening, but it was never that level where it gets into like, oh, this is just going to naturally have momentum for years.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely like a level that certain artists get to, and you're like, oh, you could not put out another song for a long time.
Yeah.
And you're fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was never at that level. And so,
what I mean, like, you got to keep paddling.
Totally.
Like, you're not just chilling. Like, you got to keep going. Yeah. Okay.
So it was really great.
Yeah.
But it never got to that, like, oh, this is going to the moon level.
Yeah. Okay. And then COVID hit. Yeah. And stopped everything.
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
The last thing anyone cares about is, well, not anyone. People cared, but governments, the last thing they cared about was, let's get people in nightclubs.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And so you had started just this basically weekly or bi-weekly kind of prayer call.
Yep.
That then during COVID, you started, it just kind of opened up to the public and had people start joining.
Well, I opened it up in January because it was weird, because I just felt this like stirring from the Lord of, hey, you need to invite everybody to this call. And I'm like, I like that it's just a close-knit group. And he was like, no, this needs to be everybody. And so I'm like, okay. And I announced it. And then I'm like, 2 months later, I'm like, yeah, you knew COVID was coming. Yeah. You knew what was going to happen.
Let me ask you on that. I'm going to go a little deeper into this. Yeah. When you say you asked the Lord.
Yeah.
Right. What? Because I'm realizing now as I'm kind of looking at my life, I'm like, damn, how did I get here? Like my journey has been so weird and interesting. And I've always had, I think, just this intuition. I just call it intuition, just a feeling, like a knowing. It's just like the feeling of when I graduated college and I started at a financial advising firm, and this little voice was like, nah, fuck that. You should go walk in and quit your job right now and move to LA and chase your dream of working the music business. I'm like, what? That's crazy. But I've always trusted that voice. And it's like, now I know that that's the voice of God. I didn't have a relationship with God. I didn't call it that, you know? But I think we all have that access, whether we call it, I don't know, your intuition. Like now for me, I'll share more about this later of how I access that. But I guess I'm curious for you, how do you talk to God? How do you listen to that voice and that part of you?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody, I mean, everyone has the ability to talk to God and hear from him. Like we're made in his image, and he wants to have a relationship with us. So I think he's always chatting. It's just a matter of like, are we willing to listen and open to listen?
Yeah.
And so obviously you learn almost through trial and error sometimes. Like, I feel like this is God, and you try something and like, oh, actually, no, looking back on it, that was maybe more me or but for me, I'll get a lot of like thoughts or these like real strong, like gut, like, oof, that I'm like, this isn't me. Or like I'll say something like, well, that wasn't me. That sounded like, like I didn't think about that before it came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But I'll get a lot of thoughts, and I'll just try and always have open conversation with the Lord. Like when I'm hanging out with my kids, I'll just be like, oh God, like, how you doing today?
Yeah.
And like we're all a family, we're hanging out. Like, and when I'm driving, when I'm working out, I'm always trying to just be open of like, hey, I know you care, and I know you want to share your heart with me. Like, I want to be as open to that as I possibly can. And my whole, I try not to get in the way.
Yeah.
Because we have our own desires and our own dreams and our own things, and it's none of those are necessarily bad, but if they get in the way of actually what God's trying to say, like that, those dreams aren't more important than hearing his voice to me.
Yeah.
And so it's always keeping that in check. And I think the more, it's like a radio frequency. Like if you're searching for it, you can find it.
Totally. And that's where I kind of tie it all into a lot of my sort of, I guess, philosophy around creativity, which is where all this began for me when I was, teaching this course back in the day. But in so much of the coaching that I've done, so much of what I've talked about on the podcast is this idea that we are vessels.
Yep.
Right? As an artist, especially, you are a vessel for creative energy. You yourself are creative energy. You were physically manifested by your mother and father coming together and through the process of procreation.
Yep.
They created you. So we are creation. We are a creation. We are creative energy. And
I mean, on that, and I think people forget this sometimes, like the first way that God shows up in the Bible is as a creator.
Yeah.
And we're made in his image. And so it's like, no, like, I'm not creative. Like, no, you are.
You are.
Everybody is creative.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think people forget that side of it all. I'm like, no, it's actually really, really, really important.
Yeah, it's inherent. It's who you are. We're creating all the time, whether we're conscious of it or not. We're creating our life moment to moment, every decision that we make. And as an artist, it can be so easy to be influenced, as we might say, influenced by the world, or just influenced by outsiders, outside influences. All right. And the best artists are the ones that know how to turn within, that are like, let me listen to myself, to my voice, to my taste. And what that requires is silence and stillness. And I think this is one of the biggest challenges that artists are facing these days, is now we're living in a world that is so busy and so noisy, and there's so much social media and so much pressure to get on content, so much dopamine addiction.
Time,
so it's crazy. Like, when do you have time as an artist to be authentically creative, right? Because it's so easy to get caught up in like, I'm listening to what everybody else is making, what they're saying, what they're doing, and I'm just now trying to recreate that, which you end up not making great stuff, really just being a copycat at all. The whole artistic journey then just becomes just very different than when you really look at like the greats.
Yeah.
They were paving their own path, and it's because they have access to something else, right? They have access to now what I would just call God, but whether that's their own internal voice, their intuition, like you said, it's the radio frequency.
Yeah.
It's like I'm tuned in, and just something that I've been doing. I'm a huge fan of The Artist's Way. I don't know if you ever went through that book. It's a 12-week workbook that is all about. She has you do morning pages basically every day. So it's like, she's like, this is the way you talk to God. Just sit down and open up your notebook and write 3 pages. And I've been preaching that, and I have my clients do it all the time. And it's a great way to just tap into flow, tap into that voice. What I've been doing lately is I'm getting up at 5 a.m. and I've been walking with like a little ruck, like a little 20-pound, weight vest, and I just take a mile-long walk in the woods by my house. But now I'm talking out loud.
Yeah.
This is the new morning pages for me. So I'm just giving this to all you guys, all you artists out there.
It's good.
Create some space and create some stillness in your life. Whether you want to call it God, the universe, I don't care what you call it, but listen to that voice, because that's where your magic is. That's where your highest form of creativity is, your highest frequency is. Especially in this oversaturated, very busy world that we're living in, and now AI is just regurgitating nonsense. It's like, no, you got to access that. And now for me, I know that is straight up me talking to God. Yep. The way I'm doing it now is like I'm doing it out loud though. I'm like, I'll literally just walk and be like, so what's up? Like, what's going on? Like, what are you? And now the portal has never been stronger. Now I'm just like, all the answers, all the clarity, everything is there. So just talking about downloads, talking about intuitive hits, we got to create the space. It doesn't have to be at 5 a.m. in the woods by yourself, but it's a powerful.
But you're purposely like creating an environment for God to show up. Like you're giving him space to move and do his thing. Like I think that's super cool. And I think for, artists, especially in today's world where like there's just so much going on and most of it has nothing to do with the actual creative process. How you steward your day-to-day life makes a big impact on the results that you're going to get out of everything. And so are you creating space to sit and create? Are you creating space to just get your mind away from things? I mean, just whatever it is, like it will make a huge difference.
And so you got some intuitive downloads. You got some commands that you listen to. So let's pick up on the story. What happened around COVID as you were doing these calls and started like listening to that voice and that calling more?
Yeah, I mean, the calls were awesome. And then, it was just special because you have people all over the world hopping on.
Yeah.
And it's going on. And then, as there's still no shows. I was living in Amsterdam at the time. Mm-hmm. And so it was locked down pretty hard. There's nothing going on. And so there's no hope of like shows or anything anytime soon. And there's a lot of me that just had to die. And this is like just the whole journey of Rave Jesus. Like for it to become where it's at now, like it was really hard for me because I knew how to build things in dance music. I'd done it on multiple projects at high levels, and there are certain things that kind of work. And like you got to make great music, but like there's other things you can do like to help build a career in a project. And I had done it multiple times and done it very well, and I was like, cool, I know how to do this. And with this project, everything had to die. And so COVID was the beginning of that process of like having to almost unlearn everything. And so it was beautiful and painful of just going, I'm like, God, this is you, or I'm batshit crazy.
And that's where
it's one of the other.
And that's where faith comes in.
There's no like middle ground of like, I don't know. Like it's like one extreme or the other. And so when the Lord's like, hey, I want you to do this writing camp and invite these people, and I want this to be the focus. It's like, okay, well, I guess we'll try this. And then we do it, and you're like, oh, this music's fire. And then it's try a couple events like this. And I'm like, this sounds so dumb. Like, like there's nothing in me that wants to do like worship raves. I just love raves. Like, and the Lord's like, try it, trust me. And I remember it happened in Seattle. I played, a normal show, like it was like a King Topher show on the Friday, and then on the Saturday we did like a worship night, a worship rave. And I'm on the flight home on Sunday from Seattle, and I'm just like, oh, geez, why was the worship rave so much more fun?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. And then I called my friend in LA and I told him, and he runs a church down there. And it's like, I think LA needs to be next. Because if this can't work in LA, I don't think it'll work anywhere. Like if this can work in LA, there's hope for this thing to be a thing.
Oh, yeah.
And we do it. We announce the show, and within 8 hours, all the tickets are gone. You're like, okay,
Dang.
maybe this is a thing. And the show happens. You're like, oh, this is actually really cool. What's going on in the room?
Yeah.
And then it turned into then the Lord saying, okay, now all the music is going to be branded as Rave Jesus. Like it's and it's going to be blatantly branded as like,
it doesn't get more blatant than Rave Jesus.
I mean, yeah, and it's going to blatantly be shared as like, hey, this is like Christian dance music and worship dance music. And
did you have resistance to that, or you just like
insane amounts?
Yeah.
Because when I was growing up, like I was just embarrassed by Christian creativity.
Yeah.
It was always like a bad knockoff version of whatever was popular.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't want to be associated with that. I want to be associated with great art and great music and have it be honoring to the Lord, but like I still care about the quality and the excellence of it all. And so there was so much of me in the whole thing that like I had to get over.
Yeah.
Hey, we're not in that place anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't 2010 or 2005 where like art from Christians was very different.
Yeah.
Now it's incredible.
That was dope.
And it's insane. And we can get a whole other conversation about that. But just a lot had to die. And I basically had to come to grips. I remember I vividly had a conversation with the Lord. I was driving home playing pickleball, and I'm cussing him out. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. This just sounds so dumb. I'm so real with the Lord. Like, keep it real. Because he's like, he already knows what I'm thinking anyway. So I was like, might as well be real about it.
Let's just put that in there for anybody that's new to praying. Because I'm still relatively new.
Yeah.
And it's like, you don't got to be, you have the image of like, I'm going to sit down at my bed.
Oh, yeah.
My hands in like, mine is like, what's up, dude? What's going on?
Just like
a normal person.
And I remember just saying, I think this is so dumb. Because all the people that I get to go love and have conversations with and pray for, like I played so many shows in China, and you get to pray for people in the green room I've never heard of Jesus before. And you're like, if we brand this as a Christian project, all that's going to go away. All the people that would never go to church or have been really hurt by the church and want nothing to do with that. Like, it's like the ability to go love and have relationship with him, is that going to go away? Because if it does, that's like, I care more about those people than a product being branded a certain way. Yeah. And the Lord was like, hey, I'm their savior, not you. And I was like, yep, that's right. Yep, you're right. And he was like, you have to trust me. Oh. And then he showed me a few things of like what this journey was going to look like. And he said, I'm going to give you a couple days. I'm asking you, but if you don't want to do it, I will find somebody else because I want to do this on the earth. Wow. And I was like, okay. And that moment, you're like, it's kind of humbling. The Lord's like, hey, I'm asking you, but whether you choose to do this or not, this is going to happen.
Yeah. It sounds like you got really clear instructions and layers to it. Like your conversations with God sound very, very detailed.
I mean, he showed me very specific things of how it was going to go, and like certain things are going to happen in 2027. Wow. And just the journey and like everything's tracking. I mean, because this whole like when people talk to me about Rave Jesus, like, how do you feel? I'm like, well, it's great, but like this was not my idea. I didn't want to do this. Yeah. If it were literally just up to me and my own personal thoughts and like things. Yeah. If it wasn't the Lord being so clear with me, I would have just said no.
That's how it works, man. I think there's so many great pieces to unpack from what you just shared, and I resonate a lot with that because I'm like, I didn't decide I want to be a life coach for DJs. Yeah. I wasn't like sitting there like, oh, what do I want to be when I grow up and like plan that out. It was like this continuous process of having an intuitive feeling, hearing the voice, hearing the calling, right? The call to adventure of the hero's journey, being really unclear about it and unsure about it, but ultimately having courage and having faith and being like, all right, I don't know what this is going to look like. And I think that's how God works is like, I'm going to give you just the next step.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give you the whole thing. That would take all the fun out of it.
I'm
gonna give you the next step.
Sometimes he will and sometimes he won't.
Yeah.
But and the thing is like he cares way less about like the end result as he cares way more about the journey of like, are we going to do this together?
Yeah.
How's your heart and how are you navigating all of this?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what he cares about. Like those are the wins for him at the end of the day.
And I think a lot of it is, are you going to trust me?
Well, that's
Are you
there you go.
faith. It's like, because it's like,
do you believe I am who I say I am?
Yeah.
And you're like, well,
you see those memes where it's like, oh, like your plans.
Yeah.
And it'd be like something really small, it'd be like God's plans.
Yep.
And there's just like some massive behind them. And it's just like trusting that, like, okay, there's a reason that I have this intuitive call, this intuitive nudge, that there's this feeling here, and I'm just going to trust it. And
Yeah.
the more you trust it, the more you start to kind of exercise that muscle, and the less resistance there is to it, and the deeper that bridge and that relationship becomes.
Yep.
And it's just like, it's going to lead you to some really cool shit. And I think that's a hard thing for a lot of artists to deal with. I think back to Avicii, my favorite artist. I use him as an example all the time, where he was like, I'm going to come out to Ultra, I'm going to start bringing country music, into it. But it was like something was telling him to do that, something in
that dude was so gifted and anointed.
So plugged in, right? And it's just like, all right, I'm going to come and bring out a bunch of banjos in the middle of Ultra, like absolutely insane. But it's those artists that are like, it's not even like I have a vision. It's like, there's a vision that God has given me.
Yeah.
I'm going to trust it. I'm going to surrender to it. I'm going to obey. It really is a process of surrendering rather than steering the ship of like, all right, what do I want to, where I'm going? It's like, no, let me surrender to this amazing, fire hose of creativity that's available to us. But it oftentimes is going to look different than what you might have planned for yourself. And that's the hard thing. That's where like literally you got to have faith.
Yeah. And it's so humbling to have to like almost surrender. Yeah. Like I've got all these dreams, these desires, these hopes, Yeah. Am I willing to give them over to the Lord and say, I'm actually going to trust you with these?
Yeah.
And I want to hear what you have to say, because that's actually more important. Because like that was just part of it for me of, I'll never play Tomorrowland again with this project. I'll never play in China. I'll never play in Pakistan again. I'll never play in these places or see these people or, this is, at least these are the things that I thought. These are my fears of like, this is going to end all the stuff that I've loved and enjoyed about dance music. And boy, was I wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's been the complete opposite of all of that.
Yeah.
And people have been so welcoming and open. I think because there's a history of loving this industry and being a part of it.
Yeah.
It's not some outsider coming in with like, I'm just trying to jock your culture and build this thing.
Totally, dude.
And so I think that's actually the kindness of the Lord to like have built the history and a resume of like, this is justified, it's legit, and then this is just an extension.
Yeah.
But it's humbling to go, all right, Lord, like I'm willing to take all these dreams and desires I still have as an artist and say, I'm going to put them at your feet. And I say, my relationship with you is more important than these. And I trust that you have good things for this project that you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's what I love about you and your story is like you have just a legit background in the scene and in rave culture.
I freaking love dance music.
Yeah.
Like I love it. Like, I don't know why the first time I heard Armin van Buuren Communication, the first time I heard that song and it was like this, it was like the whole world stood still.
Yeah.
And I was like, this,
dude.
Whatever this is, like, this is a part of me.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but that was it. And that was the beginning of it all. And like, and so my heart, even with this project, like, yes, it's worship dance music. It's Christian raves. It's like, my heart is, I want to honor dance music and dance music culture because there's so much about it that I love. So I'm not trying to like make it some knockoff version. It's like, no, like I loved it. And funny enough, I was having a conversation with my friend when I was driving in about how this might trigger some people. I go, weirdly, these raves now feel more like OG raves from like the 2000s, where everybody comes and they're so full of life.
Yeah.
And everyone's hugging each other and excited to meet people and community. And there's this joy and no one's there. Like, it's, hey, all are welcome, come as you are. But like, what this is, but like, come as you are. Like, and so much of dance music has gotten away from that. And it's okay. Things grow and evolve and change. But weirdly, like these Christian raves feel like the raves that I used to sneak out and go to. I mean, there's no drugs at them, but like the culture and the feel in the room of like, everyone's so excited that you're there and you just want to dance and celebrate. And it's like, wow, this is weird that Christians have like this OG rave spirit right now.
Well, that's the thing. And let's get into,
we got to get to you too.
Rave scene. Yeah. Well, that's where it starts with me as well, is hearing Armin van Buuren, hearing Tiesto back in 2008 or something. And I was a metalhead, you know, but all of a sudden I was like, the melodies of these songs are really cool. And I always
those super soft synths will get you, bro. They get you.
I always loved really melodic, intricate metal. And there was just this great crossover to trance music. I was just thinking about this morning on my walk. I was like, man, it's like the music it's like, that's God's language, you know, like the music that we have all felt that, where it's like, it just fills our heart. It fills our soul. It makes us feel something. It's what we would call, you know, feeling the Holy Spirit, right? And it's just a way that I think God can really communicate with us. And that's why we love it, you know? And so, you know, the rave scene, there's so many aspects to it that are just so beautiful and so amazing. And first and foremost, it's the music.
Yeah.
Right. You know, I was like a raver. I was going and, you know, we were popping ecstasy pills and like having that, like what felt like this kind of, you know, taste of heaven in a way, of just like, oh my God, like this bliss, this euphoria. There's this feeling that it's almost like I've been searching for this feeling my whole life. You know, you have the music, you have the drugs, and you have the people, the culture at that time, which was peace, love, unity, and respect. You know, a little bit of it has died, but to me, it cracked me open. You know, before that, I was kind of like a hard partying, like metalhead. I was just like binge drinking. You know, came from playing rugby and being in a frat in college. I was a party animal. You know, I was just this big jack, you know, rugby playing, beer drinking party animal. And then going to the rave scene, all of a sudden, I'm telling my friends I love them.
Yeah.
And I'm hugging people and I'm meeting strangers like, oh my God. And that's kind of almost like this vision of what heaven could be like.
Yeah.
Right.
I always tell this to people, because especially Christians, they get really triggered by, well, some people get really triggered by the idea of like festivals and raves and all this. And I explained to them, I'm like, when I was at Tomorrowland, I kept thinking, oh, this is a glimpse of what heaven is going to be like. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you have basically every nation on the earth there celebrating, and they're worshiping the DJ on stage. And people are looking for a supernatural encounter, and that's why they take drugs. Like,
totally.
Like they're doing what they're wired to do. I think it's a little bit misdirected.
Yeah.
But I understand the intent, because we are wired for a supernatural encounter with God, and people are wired. They want to experience the supernatural, and they want to worship, and they want to worship in community and all these things. And I'm like, oh, the intent is there. Like, they're doing what they're wired to do. I would love to be like, hey, I think this is the healthiest way to do it over here. Yeah. But I understand. And so people are like, aren't you offended? I go, I'm not offended. I understand. I think it's misguided, but I'm not offended. And I'm not going to like yell at all these people. I'm like, oh, what I want to do is nudge them a little bit in the right direction.
Yeah.
But like exactly what you just shared, of like, I'm hugging people. I'm telling them I love them. I feel like I'm a part of this thing. You're like, yeah, like that's the kingdom of heaven right there in so many ways.
Yeah.
And so, like, you know, I always push back on Christians when they want to like just crap on dance music or the rave scene. I'm like, hey, wait a second.
Yeah.
These people, if they've never heard the gospel, they've never had an encounter with Jesus, I totally understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Totally. And what's beautiful is, you know, hopefully when you grow out of that phase, which, you know, I think a lot of artists have been in, and, you know, can maybe still be an allure to the scene as well. But it's like, all right, once you're like, okay, I know this isn't healthy, right? You know, like I'm putting these things behind me, and again, no hate on anybody that still is in that space, but at least in my own journey, you know, putting all of that behind me, I definitely went through a phase of kind of a weird relationship, I guess, with the scene, you know, like, where do I fit in? Where do I belong?
A lot of people experience
you know?
that, yeah.
But eventually being able to, you know, find a place in myself where it's like, man, like I'm able to have those euphoric experiences kind of without the drugs.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Where it's just like, oh, when I really set my heart on just being that kind of person all the time with everybody, and, you know, like, not needing to take a pill to give unconditional love.
Yeah.
But just being like, oh, I am that. I don't
Yeah.
need substances. I don't need alcohol to open up more. I don't need anything to do that. And it's like, you know, I feel like I found that on my own, just in terms of my own, you know, kind of personal development. And obviously, like, I've been very involved in working on myself, emotional intelligence, like taking every program that you can take, you know. But that's really where it actually clicked for me. Was one of my friends. This is so funny. Shout out to my friend Tyler. He actually has a Christian electronic project as well called Atherton, which he launched a little while ago. And this was like a couple years ago. I was like, you know, I was just being vulnerable. I was posting some stuff online, just opening up, being like, man, like I'm kind of struggling right now, you know, like I'm going through some shit. Life is kind of hard or whatever, and just part of my journey of being open and being vulnerable. And he this was around Christmas. This must have been like 4 years ago. He just blows me. I get like 5 text messages from him that are all like 2-minute long voice notes. And he's just like, hey brother, like I saw you like just struggling, you know, that you're struggling right now. And I just got to tell you, man, he's like, I know you're a programs guy. Like you like to follow the program and follow the system. And he's like, I just got to share. Something's calling me to share. Like I found like, this is the first program I found that's working for me. I've done it all. I've done cold showers. I've done microdosing. I've done the self-help traditional shit.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because at the time he was just like, you got to find Jesus, you know? And I was like, bro,
and it's the best free program too.
He just blew me up with like 15 voice notes. And we joke about it all the time because it's like, I eventually did, but at the time I was like, bro, you're crazy. Like you are absolutely insane for blowing me up. Thank God he did. Because what it actually did was it planted a seed. That it took a while to grow. I think it took me moving to Texas to grow. You know, what eventually happened, you know, what I would say is, you know, it's like the feeling of like something was still missing. It's like, why are things still not working? Like, why am I, you know, going to the shows, you know, trying to find it there, trying to find it in like the personal development space, you know, just the feeling of, almost there always still being sort of this void or something that you're searching for, that I was searching for. And then eventually, you know, I remember just seeing other people. I was just like, yo, it just seems like this guy, he like, what is it about this guy? Like, he's got something that I don't. Like, why is he so happy or positive or fulfilled or successful or whatever it may be? And I just started seeing this pattern. I'm like, oh, this guy's got like God in his corner. You know what I mean? Like this is a man of faith. Yeah. And I just noticed myself being very attracted to a lot of these types of men, especially. I'm like, oh, and I was just like, fuck, I think my boy's right. You know, I think like there is this, maybe there's something there, you know. And I started going to church, and it's a very slow process for me. I'm like, what's this whole church thing about, this whole Jesus thing? You know, like I come from more of the hippie new age, God in the universe. Like I'm cool with that, but like, who's this Jesus guy? And eventually what I kind of realized, I'm like, oh, like it really just is, to me, what made it click. I was like, well, this is the template. This is the role model of how to live a good life. You know what I mean? It's like when I go to the gym, I need to know like, what are the sets? What are the reps? Give me the weights. What do I need to follow? And I really needed that in my life of like, okay, here's the playbook. Here's the rule book. There's a reason your life isn't working out the way that you want to. You keep trying to do it your own way. He's like, I came down, I showed y'all how to do it. We wrote a big ass book about it, you know? And I realized this the other day. I'm like, man, why have I've been such a personal development self-help junkie? I'm like, I've read all the books for 15 years. I've been reading all the books. And I realized, I'm like, well, the Bible is like the first personal development book. You know, I was like, so much of all the stuff that's in here, this is where it came from anyways, you know? And so I've always been craving that, just the constant kind of desire and quest for like, how do I become better? You know, like what is it? And I will say, like this, since I've been really digging in and really, I mean, just since so much has changed since actually getting baptized. It was a year and a half of kind of exploring and being like, oh, like
share that. I would love to hear like just that journey, because that's a big moment for people. Like
big moment,
I remember you sharing when we connected about how you posted about it. Yeah, and you were getting tons of messages, and it was crazy. I would just love to hear you share a bit more about the whole.
And it's funny, man, because like, you know, I'd say this is a bit of my, as I say, my coming out of the closet moment,
I'm a Christian.
Yeah, because there's a weird, there's kind of a weird thing of, and it's like, yeah, why? I don't know. For me growing up, I guess, I grew up very liberal, Northern California, very hippie. Like, even my family's kind of like, what? Like, you want to be Christian? Like, they're super on board and cool with it, but it's just my own personal journey is
there's a lot of stigmas that people can attach to it.
Yeah, and especially in the scene, and that's why I love, like, for us to kind of come out and talk about it. But that's exactly what happened. Is it's about a year and a half of like, all right, I'm starting to go to church, and it's different here. Austin, we're in Texas, like every Jesus is cool out here. It's not weird, like coming from California, it's like super weird. If you're like, oh, you go to church, like you're weird, Out here, it's not weird. So socially, it makes a difference, but. It was a very slow process, a year and a half of like, I'm popping in, I'm trying to learn. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about in here?
Yeah.
And, but what was different, I've always been very open and curious, and I've popped into church before, but what was different was I started feeling it in my heart.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like, oh, I'm trying to understand it intellectually. It was like something is happening inside of my body and I can feel it. I'm like, why am I crying right now? Why is like my heart just cracking open? And so the more I went in, finally, I remember at the beginning of the year, this year, my church was like, yo, like, why? Yeah, I know a lot of you are like kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, still sort of exploring. And they're like, what if you just went all in for a year? And then at the end of the year, if your life isn't better, you can always go back. And that kind of sat with me. And so eventually when they had a baptism, I was like, yeah, like, fuck it. I'm in. Like, let's go. I felt, again, just walking in the woods, I had a clear download. God was like, yo, do it, like a week before. And I was like, cool. And I mean, I can't even begin to explain and describe how much has just changed and shifted in my life. It's that, like, you let go of your old life, it's like the old life kind of
being born again. I mean, something has to die.
It's crazy, dude. It's crazy, but I've never felt more alignment, more conviction, more life, more vitality, and it hasn't been easy. This has been one of the hardest years of my life.
Well,
the hardest years of my life.
People think following Jesus is like this easy. Life just gets easy and everything's all good. Like, no, it's hard.
It's hard, dude. It's
hard.
But
it's the most fulfilling thing you'll do.
Yeah, so much. Because the thing is like, it's kind of like my old life was hard. My old mindset, my old posture. It's like trying to do it all alone is hard. For me, one of the big things that clicked was like, I didn't really have a father that was around to raise me. I had like an alcoholic absentee father, and we just don't. He's around. We don't really have a relationship. There were years where like we didn't really even talk, and we're repairing that. But it was like I didn't have that. So it's almost like in my psyche and in my soul, there's been a void.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, that's really kind of interesting and funny. They call it like the father, like God being like the father. I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, yeah, I've been looking for a father my whole life. I've been trying to fill it in all these other places, or I've been playing that role in a way for a lot of people, and it's almost like I've been the coach, the mentor, the one carrying so many others for so long, which is rad because God's been working through me.
Yep.
But it's kind of like, where do I go?
Yeah.
Who do I get to lean on? Who do I get to be a little child to? And I've been finding that, and it's
good.
It's been absolutely fucking transformational.
I love it.
Massive.
I love that, bro. That's so good.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's been an exciting journey, and it's like the more I, just kind of let go and surrender, the more magic starts to show up. So I'm just like, yo, I'm all in. Like, let's see what your plans are.
Yeah,
like, I've been doing it for myself for 40 years, and I'm like, I love myself, I love my life, but at the same time, I'm like, I know there's so much more. So I'm like, let's see what happens if I let you take over. What do you got in store for me?
It's hard, but it's so freeing at the same time when you get to that place.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, Lord, let's go. That's so good, man. I'm so excited for you. Yeah. It's been so cool just to have the conversations over the last few months of just you and your journey. And, I shared the idea with you of like, you're just so good at conversation and storytelling. Like, I think there's just so much more that is there for you to share. And even like this conversation, like, there's going to be so many more conversations for you to pull out, like really cool, unique things of what God's doing, or just with other people and other artists. But it's like, keep going, bro. It's so good. It's so needed. And I want to celebrate that. And
thank you.
And who you are and what you're doing. It's awesome.
Thank you for being a part of my journey, man. I mean, it really is. It's like the process is almost so simple. It's like you feel the intuitive nudge, or you hear the voice, you hear the calling, have the courage to answer it, and go for it and just listen to that. I mean, the reason we're sitting here is I felt that intuitive nudge one day, and I just found the text message. I was like, yo, I think you should start that Rave Jesus call again. And you want support with that, let's do that. And so now it's been 6 months.
I'd been thinking about it. It was so cool when I was like, man, I really feel like I'm supposed to start this back up with just a certain, like, there's only people doing it in the industry.
Yeah.
And then we connected, and you were like, hey, I feel like you should start that call. And I was like, well, I've been praying about that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Okay, let's do this.
And I think that's what's been cool is kind of like, it's funny, man, because I'm sure it's like when I posted my baptism, there were, like, I don't know, like 20, I lost like 20 followers or something, there's still this funny thing of the kind of like putting yourself out there and just talking about your faith. And again, not at all from like a preachy, this is the way you need to do it at all, but just kind of like from a place of, there's so many other people out there that I think are questioning and asking and curious. And also there's so many artists that I found of like when I did make that post about my baptism, and then I had 100 people in my DMs, almost like behind the scenes though. Like,
well,
like this
that's
is
what
a secret.
I think is super cool about what's going on. And like you doing that and like this conversation is, I mean, we both know this because we're having conversations behind the scenes with tons of people, but there are a lot of people on a journey right now, and they're figuring out who God is and who Jesus is and how he impacts their life. And some people have become Christians or are like wanting to, and it's so wild to see. And I think a lot of people are a little bit hesitant because like, I don't know how this is going to get received.
Yeah.
So I love that, like, hey, I'll take the brunt. You'll take the brunt.
Yeah, I'm like, fuck it. Let's put it out there.
If anyone that wants to hate on it, come hate on me. Leave everybody else alone. Like, we'll deal with it. But it's cool because I think this stuff is like give permission to people.
Yeah.
Like, hey, actually, no, I don't have to be afraid of this, or I can talk about this, or or ask questions and just be curious. Like, I think anyone who's listening to this, if you have any questions, or want any prayer, DM me. At Rave Jesus Music. DM Nick. Like we're here to have these conversations with people.
And that's it. It's simply like taking the conversation out from behind closed doors. Putting it out there. Because it's funny. It's like when I see how many other people are also curious about these kinds of conversations or wanting to have them. You said something a minute ago as well that I think is so important. It was like, we're just exploring this, like it's like trying to understand something that's totally not understandable, like God is so big and infinite, and the concept of all of it, I think is so huge that there's no final destination of like, we got this figured out. We're in the process for the rest of our lives of trying to figure it out and being curious and seeing what happens and seeing what works, and also like trying to be righteous and failing and it's like it's I think that's an important point to make, that it's like it's kind of just like an endless journey of curiosity. And what I have found, what has been amazing, is just finding other people to do it with. Of like, oh, a lot of these questions maybe are questions I've been asking in the back of my mind, but finding other people that I can bounce these ideas around with and have somebody in my corner like, cool, like let's I don't know, let's be on this journey together. And that's so good. Huge for me.
I love that.
And I'm absolutely honored that God has crossed our paths, that we get to be on this journey together. I feel like it is, still just the beginning of something really amazing.
Literally just the beginning.
And super grateful for you just taking the time to come through and share a bit about your story here. And
so fun. I love it. It's so cool to see what God's doing and get and talk about it. And I'd actually just love to pray for everybody real quick before we end.
Of course. I was gonna say there's only one way to wrap this up. So pray us out.
Lord, thank you for Nick and just his life and what he's doing and his passion to share stories and have conversations. We need to bless that. And we pray for every single person that listens to this podcast, no matter where you're at, no matter where you're from, no matter what your thoughts are about Jesus or God or anything. Like, just know that you're loved and that you matter and you have value and you have purpose, and God would love to have a relationship with you. And we just declare peace over your minds and your bodies, and just may your life be filled with just a joy that is incomprehensible, that you're like, this is just something I've never experienced before, and that you can know that that's from the Lord, and he loves you so much. And so we just pray healings and miracles in people's lives. If you're dealing with any sickness or diseases, just that your bodies get healed. We pray for just for all the artists out there, like incredible creativity, songs and ideas from heaven that just bring and usher in sounds that are just so captivating and incredible. Lord, we know you love dance music. We know you love the dance music industry. And so we just bless the dance music industry, and we thank you that we get to make this amazing music that is filled with massive kick drums and amazing synths and all the things and lights and lasers and sounds. Like, we love all of it. Lord, we love you so, so much. In Jesus' name we rave. Amen.